The Bay of Fundy is largely known as a massive place with some of the most beautiful and intense natural phenomena. It has the highest tides in the world and is one of the best places to come for peace, solitude, and to enjoy the natural beauty. The potential wildlife that can be observed here just on a day-to-day basis is practically unmatched, from whales during ferry rides to seals from shore and even moose along the side of the road. But yet, there is one part of this place that few ever truly get to explore. In this video and this series, I want to take you beneath the waves and teach you about some of the amazing animals that live right off of our doorstep. So come along with me and let's dive into it. Welcome to Beneath the Bay of Fundy. There are a ton of invertebrate species in the bay, some of which are more recognizable and others many haven't even heard of. Some may even look like something we know, but are actually something completely different, while others we would never even have expected to be in these cold waters. While it may not be as amazingly colorful as other species of its kind, the northern ceranthid belongs to the same group as other anemonies and, weirdly enough, jellyfish. They can be found fairly easily from the majority of the year on soft-bottom mud habitats. They are different from other anemones as they do not attach themselves to the rocks, but rather burrow into the sand and mud with not much more than their two rings of tentacles protruding. This set of pale tentacles are what is used to identify this species. And while these animals may look very similar to what we've just seen, they're not anemones at all. In fact, they're worms. The slime worm burrows into soft bottoms as well and excretes a tube of mucus where it lives. The organelle that is exposed is the animal's gills, and where the tentacles are almost connected all the way to the end rather than being individuals like we saw in the anemone. They can react to the outside world, pulling the organs that is normally visible inside the tube at the slightest change of the water pressure. They have one of the fastest reaction times of any species as a result of having one of the largest nerve cords. Some worms are worms, like these polychaetes. It is an incredibly resilient species, one that can live in almost any conditions. In fact, they are known to be very abundant in areas where normally it is difficult for other species to survive. While there are so many different species of polychaetes, generally speaking they are identifiable by their centipede-like body form, many segments where each one of them has a set of legs attached. But not all soft-bodied invertebrates are necessarily so simple. A young longfin squid, similar to its warm water Caribbean counterparts, the longfin and shortfin squid are some of the most complex and intelligent invertebrates species here in the bay. They are most abundant near shore during the late summer, between the end of July and September. Squid have a fairly unique and identifiable body shape. However, it can be difficult to identify the differences between that long and short-fin squid species in the bay, specifically when they're young, because the major distinguishing characteristic is the ratio of the fin length to the mantle length. And between the quick movements and color changes, this can be very difficult to identify when you're actually in the water. The color changes as a result of chromatophores under their skin, color pigments controlled by muscles that during contraction and relaxation will lead to changing colors. It is hypothesized that these species may use this ability to communicate with others of its kind. And while not all invertebrates are simple, not all of them are soft-bodied either. Many invertebrates have some sort of hard exterior structure that offers defense and skeletal structure rather than having an internal skeleton. This shelled animal may look completely new, but it's a species that many people know. This is a sea scallop, very similar to a mussel, but unlike them in restaurants, you're served them already removed from their shell. It has a smooth surface rather than the rigid one of the bay scallop. It's a large, flat, fairly round mollusk. This species has a series of black dots along the entire inside rim of the shell. These dots are actually eyes, meaning unlike mussels or other bivalves, it can actually see the surrounding environment in almost all directions. These green sea urchins have a calcium carbonate shell surrounding their soft body parts, with the only part really exposed being the underside. It has hard spines as well as soft tube feet that actually make this species quite maneuverable. They use both of these appendages to protect themselves if they ever end up upside down. Through a complex and choreographed set of movements, the urchins are actually able to turn themselves over from their unprotected side back right side up. Identification is fairly easy as green sea urchins are actually the only sea urchins we have here in the bay. Their green color is an obvious giveaway. The most iconic invertebrate in this area, though, is the American lobster. It is by far the most well-known species of Atlantic Canada. Unlike their Caribbean counterparts, American lobsters have their telltale claws. Their claws actually specialize as they develop, with the bulkier claw designed for crushing and the finer claw for finer skills. American lobsters are one of the apex predators of the bay. These lobsters will feed on pretty much anything from rock crab to fish to shrimp and even other lobsters. They can also be very territorial and have a tendency to be aggressive towards other individuals. It is largely thought that this species spends the majority of its time, especially when it's young, under rock shelves and in cracks in order to protect themselves from others. But more recently, they have been spending a significant chunk of their time out on the mudflats. As previously mentioned, and while not as recognizable as American lobsters, the rock crab is just as common. It's got an oval-shaped carapace, unlike most other crabs in the area. On the front side, it has 9 spikes on each side of its eyes, including one at the widest point in the shell. This species can be hard to tell from its very similar Jonah crab counterpart. However, that last spike on the outermost part of the shell is what tells them apart. These crabs also often prefer to hide and pretend that they are rocks, rather than confront divers. Most interestingly, if 2 rock crabs are ever observed giving each other a big bear hug, it's more than just friendship. Males will hold on to females while waiting for them to become receptive for mating. And those are some of the most common and interesting species of invertebrates that can be found in the Bay of Fundy. However, the ocean is seemingly limitless when it comes to new species, and it seems like there's always something new to find. Next time, we look at some of the more common fish species that can be found in the bay before diving even further to find more and more obscure species. Thanks for watching, and I hope you learned something. If so, pass it on to people around you. The more people who know about the wonders of the ocean, the more people we have to protect it.